right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It is very early Sunday morning.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's the way it goes around here, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Today, Paul and Barnabas returned to Antioch of Syria. After preaching the good news in Derbe and making many disciples, Paul and Barnabas returned to Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch of Pisidia, where they strengthened the believers. They encouraged them to continue in the faith, reminding them that we must suffer many hardships to enter the kingdom of God. Paul and Barnabas also appointed elders in every church. With prayer and fasting, they turned the elders over to the care of the Lord, in whom they had put their trust. Then they traveled back through Pisidia and Pamphylia. They preached the word in Perga, then went down to Attalia. Finally, they returned by ship to Antioch of Syria, where their journey had begun. The believers there had entrusted them to the grace of God to do the work they had now completed. Upon arriving in Antioch, they called the church together and reported everything God had done through them and how they had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles too. And they stayed there with the believers for a long time. Now the commentary. Paul and Barnabas returned to visit the believers in all the cities where they had recently been threatened and physically attacked. These men knew the dangers they faced, yet they believed that they had a responsibility to encourage the new believers. No matter how inconvenient or uncomfortable the task may seem, we must always support new believers who need our help and encouragement. It was not convenient or comfortable for Jesus to go to the cross for us. Part of the reason that Paul and Barnabas risked their lives to return to these cities was to organize their church's leadership. They were not just following up on loosely knit group, they were helping the believers get organized with spiritual leaders who could help them grow. Churches grow under spirit-led leaders, both laypersons and pastors. Pray for your church leaders and support them, and if God puts his finger on you, humbly accept the responsibility of a leadership role in your church. Paul probably wrote his letter to the Galatians while he was staying at Antioch in AD 48 or 49, after completing his first missionary journey. There are several theories as to what part of Galatia Paul was addressing, but most agree that Iconium, Lystra, and Derbe were part of that region for which the letter was intended. Galatians was probably written before the Jerusalem Council, Acts chapter 15. Because in the letter, the question of whether Gentile believers should be required to follow Jewish laws was not yet resolved. The council met to resolve that problem. Okay. I guess I don't really have much to say about that.
They said it stayed a long time. It takes a long time to do some of the things that God asks us to do.
Yeah.
A lot of it's not an easy in and out type situation.
Yeah, it's not like you can just go, we're just going to go build a church and then 6 weeks later you leave. You know, you got to stay there and encourage people, because I'm sure they had a lot of opposition where they were too, between if you were a Jewish person, you know, your fellow Jews would give you a lot of grief, and if you were a Gentile, you had all these false God worshiping people giving you a lot of grief.
And the Jews too, because they didn't think that the Gentiles were worthy at that time.
Yeah, so they had a lot of forces trying to tear you away from Christ, and yeah, they were there to keep it all together for a little while till it got up and running. And
very hard, very inconvenient.
Yep.
And then in this particular situation we're reading about, it was even unsafe.
Yep.
So
okay, so far it looks like that is the end of Acts, and then when we get back together again, looks like we're going to start the book of James.
Okay.
All right, hope everybody has a glorious day, and we'll talk to you later.